Right now, though, here's a question for you. Have you ever fostered a child? And what was that experience like for you? 96900 693. Or were you yourself a foster child? And how important was that in your life? 96900 693. This week is Foster Care Week, and it celebrates and raises awareness about foster care within the wider community. So if you've got any questions or queries about fostering a child, we'll take those calls now, 96900 693, because I am joined by the CEO at the Foster Care Association of Victoria. She's very happy to take your calls. Samantha Hauge, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dee Dee. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. And any calls for Samantha, if you do have questions, 96900 693. Tell us, Samantha, when somebody chooses to foster a child, what is involved?
Basically, foster care take on one of the most complex and important roles in our community, and it's absolutely critical in providing a safe and healing environment for children and young people to reach their full potential. So what's really involved is that understanding that deciding to become a foster carer is really not an impulsive decision at all. So from your initial inquiry, whether you've seen something on an ad or knowing a foster carer that you might have spoken to, and then contacting your agency in the area, through to being accredited and ready to take care of a young person in your home, that can take up to 6 to 9 months of assessment and training, and sometimes longer. So like I said, there is a lot involved, and not an impulsive decision at all. Going through that process really helps you, to work out if you are the best person to become a foster carer, and really also helps you work out what type of care you'd like to provide, because there's so many different types. It could be emergency care you're offering, respite care, short-term, medium or long-term foster care. At the same time, we need at least 500 more foster carers in Victoria right at the moment to ensure that our kids don't end up in residential care. So if there is anyone interested out there, please contact Fostering Connections and make an inquiry.
At least, they could look into it and sort of touch in with you or touch base with you to find out what's involved. Apart from, obviously it must be incredibly rewarding to know that you're helping a young person have a good start in life. Are there any other incentives that are given to people who foster children?
Good question. I think that basically you need to be someone that is really thick-skinned, altruistic, that ultimately sees the potential for changing children's lives and their livelihood. It's certainly not all roses caring for children, and remembering at the same time that many of our children in foster care systems have come from a background of trauma, and at the same time the rewards of seeing a child in your care, for example, go to the beach for the first time, or try new food, make new friends, attend school for the first time in a long time, and just really feeling safe. Those are the moments that make foster caring really worthwhile.
I actually really appreciate you being honest about it. When you say that there's somebody who was going to foster would need to have a thick skin, what prompted you to say that?
Well, I think that, like I said, many of the children in foster care do come from a background of trauma, so there are certainly huge challenges looking after children in that situation. I think it's also fair to say that sometimes I think that there's a false stigma attached to fostering, that somehow it might be a way to prop up the household budget. It's certainly not in any way something that you'd enter into to increase your budget. That's just laughable. Carers are significantly out of pocket to provide the basic privileges for...
Well, that's not right. So, Samantha, what sort of assistance do they get? What monetary assistance do they get? Because they shouldn't have to be out of pocket.
No, look, unfortunately, it is true that with fostering, it's basic. All foster carers are volunteers. There's no wage or remuneration for foster caring. They do get an allowance, which is that allowance is based on an estimate of the cost of living, and it's meant to cover the basics like housing, bills, food, but the actual 24/7 care that is provided by foster care, there's no money that covers that. We have research that's been done which at the moment indicates that on average a foster carer could be between per annum coming out of their pocket. Like I said, you do get an allowance, a care allowance to cover the basics for the food and bills, but that doesn't cover, recreational expenses, schooling expenses, buying school uniforms, going to the movies, joining a sporting club, those kind of things. That's where foster carers, do try and
that must
cover the extras.
It makes your job harder, doesn't it, trying to place children, knowing that you have to prepare people that they're going to have to be ready to come up and cover some of those other expenses that beyond the basic allowance. It makes your life a bit more difficult, doesn't it?
Yes, and I think that's what I was alluding to. You do need to be thick-skinned, altruistic to take on this role, but at the same time, it is an incredibly rewarding role.
For sure, yeah. 96900 693 if you've been a foster carer or if you were a foster child, how did that impact your life? Or if you have any questions. Joins us. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Samantha. And Dee Dee, think you've got a great show. Samantha, I had been thinking about being a foster carer, but I was put off by some people I know in child protection who were saying that that there's a very complex sort of like complaints process where people, sort of virtually stood down and, it's a very sort of highly stressful sort of process and, it sort of puts them off sort of, ever thinking about doing fostering. So I just wondered about that.
Look, there is a system in place which should be in place, but I think what you're alluding to, that if there are allegations of that need to be investigated about the foster carer, then those investigations certainly take place as they should. The trouble that we hear about all the time, and which I think you're probably alluding to, is the significant period of time it seems to be taking for those investigations to be completed. And once an investigation starts, that carer's life is put on hold. The children's lives, in the foster care kids, the whole placement's put on hold. So the timelines are just, I guess, incredibly lengthy at the moment, and the investigations are very stressful for the foster carers. We're certainly working with the department and government reps to address this issue. So it certainly is high on our radar and a really big priority. And at the Foster Care Association of Victoria, we certainly provide a lot of support to carers who are undergoing those investigations, just to help them navigate through that process.
Yeah, and I don't know how you can get around that, because if a complaint is raised, it does have to be investigated properly.
Correct. From our point of view, it's around the timeliness and
yes,
keeping carers informed of the process.
Of course, yeah.
Right through that.
Sandra has a question. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Look, I was wondering, we sit at home weekends normally without COVID, and it would be lovely to be able to pick up a child and take them out for the day. I know that's not actually fostering a child full time because we're still working, but do they have anything like that where you can pick up children, give them a good day outing, good meals and have lots of fun, and then obviously it's only for the weekend or a long weekend? Is there such a service, or is there such a thing as that?
Yeah, there is, Sandra. Something like that could fall under what we call respite care. So where we've got existing carers who need a break themselves, just a little bit of time out to recuperate, and they have kids that have very significant needs in their care, or they have their own issues happening. They need a break. That can be on a regular basis or a non-regular basis, but yes, carers need a break quite often themselves, and our pool of respite carers is incredibly low, and it's really difficult to find people to offer the kind of service that you're proposing there. So yes, absolutely, give some of our carers a break and take those kids on those outings and help everyone.
That's
So
good.
yes, we can certainly talk to you about that, Sandra.
Yeah, no, that's good, and I think that's really good to hear that, Samantha, because I imagine there's a lot of people who work during the week but are happy to do as Sandra's suggesting, and just do an occasional day or something. I guess
and particularly Dee Dee, more than ever, over the past 18, 20 months that with the COVID, it's never been more I guess pronounced for the kids in foster care that their well-being is measured. It's been the hardest situation for everybody. So yes, if we can give some of our carers a break, then we can help retain them, as foster carers. And at the same time, word of mouth is really important. So it can certainly encourage people to perhaps want to become foster carers as well.
Yeah, look, I appreciate your time today. Samantha Hauge, who's the CEO of Foster Care Association of Victoria. I'll give you the website if you do want to follow up, FCAV, fcav.org.au, if you want to get in touch with the Foster Care Association, if it's something you're considering, as it is Foster Care Week this week. And good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Have you been a foster child or have you fostered?
I have been. I have been a carer. I've fostered 295 kids over the years, for about 17 years, ranging from babies to 22 years old. And when that other lady said that you're out of pocket, yes, that's true. You are quite out of pocket sometimes. The system needs a lot of change, really. You have your wonderful times, your wonderful children, and then you have the bad times, which are bad times. It's very hard. They've been talking for years about helping carers with more reimbursements, but it's never happened.
Yeah, it should happen.
And it does cost a lot of money.
Yes, exactly. And you're extraordinary. It's close to 300 children that you've helped. And I imagine the children have relationships that are formed between each of them as they've come through your home. Yeah, there should be more support. I completely agree with you on it. And I know that is something that the Foster Care Association did want to highlight, that they need more support to make sure that kids are given the best chance at life. Thank you, Anne. Tony, good afternoon.
Good evening, Dee Dee. How are you going?
Good, thank you.
That's great. Just a quick one. Anne, just speaking, was wonderful having that many children. I've got one little boy in my care. I had him off and on for the first 12 months of his life. His parents are in unfortunate situations. I've had him permanently since he was 1, and he's 4.5 now, and I'm going to say it's one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had.
Oh, that's good to hear, Tony. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, there needs to be something that comes from within you, where the need to help, the want to help, and the satisfaction that you get from knowing that you've changed someone's life. Because as Samantha, and I do appreciate her honesty, you do need to be prepared. You'll probably be dipping into your own pocket beyond the basic allowance that you're given to look after foster children. But as you've just said, the benefits can outweigh all of those worries. Good to talk to you. Thank you so much, Tony, and thank you again to Samantha Hauge from Foster Care Association of Victoria. Up next, the Victims of Crime Commissioner